In the heart of a sprawling city, where skyscrapers towered above narrow streets and the constant hum of activity filled the air, an elderly woman named Eleanor shuffled along the pavement. Her silver hair was tucked neatly under a scarf, and her hands trembled slightly as she gripped her wooden cane. She had lived in this city for over 50 years, but today it felt foreign. The morning had started like any other. She had stepped out for her usual walk around the park, enjoying the crisp autumn breeze and watching leaves swirl across the ground. But somewhere between the familiar paths and bustling intersections, she lost her way. The city moved fast, indifferent to anyone who couldn't keep pace. People hurried past Eleanor without so much as a glance. Some were engrossed in their phones, while others seemed too consumed by their own worries to notice hers. A young man with headphones jogged by, nearly bumping into her. When she tried to ask him for directions, he mumbled something about being late and rushed off. Another woman in a sharp business suit pretended not to hear when Eleanor called out for help. It wasn't that these people were cruel, they simply didn't pause long enough to see her struggle. To them, she was just another face in the crowd, a blur in the chaos of daily life. Eleanor's legs grew tired and her chest tightened with anxiety. She leaned against a lamppost, trying to catch her breath. Her mind raced as she replayed the turn she had taken earlier, hoping to retrace her steps. But everything looked unfamiliar now. The shops, the street signs, even the faces of passers-by. Panic began to creep in as she realized how far she might be from home. She thought about calling someone, but her phone battery had died hours ago. Her wallet contained only a few dollars and an old photograph of her late husband, smiling beside her on their wedding day. That picture had always brought her comfort, but today it only reminded her of how alone she felt. As the sun dipped lower, in the sky casting long shadows across the pavement, Eleanor found herself sitting on a bench in a small park. Children laughed nearby as they chased each other around the playground, and couples strolled hand in hand. Yet none of them noticed the frail woman sitting quietly, her eyes brimming with tears. She wondered if anyone would care if she disappeared altogether. Had society truly become so disconnected that people could overlook someone in need? She sighed heavily, clutching her cane tighter as though it might anchor her to reality. A group of teenagers walked by, laughing loudly and sharing jokes. One of them glanced at Eleanor briefly, then quickly looked away. She wanted to call out to them to beg for assistance, but the words stuck in her throat. What if they ignored her too? Or worse, what if they mocked her? After all, she was just an old woman, frail, forgetful, and seemingly insignificant in the grand scheme of things. The thought made her feel smaller than ever. She bowed her head, staring at the cracks in the sidewalk beneath her feet, feeling invisible. Despite her despair, Eleanor refused to give up entirely. She decided to try one last time to ask for help. Standing up slowly, she approached a middle-aged man reading a newspaper on a nearby bench. "Excuse me," she said softly, her voice trembling. He lowered his paper and gave her a quick once-over before shaking his head. "Sorry, I'm busy," he muttered, raising the newspaper again as if to block her out completely. Humiliated, Eleanor returned to her seat, defeated. She wrapped her shawl tighter around her shoulders, trying to shield herself not just from the evening chill but also from the coldness of human indifference. Time dragged on, and the park emptied gradually as families headed home for dinner. Streetlights flickered on, casting a pale glow over the deserted pathways. Eleanor's stomach growled, reminding her that she hadn't eaten since breakfast. She closed her eyes, leaning back against the bench, and let exhaustion take over. For a moment, she considered staying there overnight, resigned to the idea that no one would come looking for her. After all, who would miss her? Most of her friends had passed away, and her children lived in different cities, rarely visiting anymore. The loneliness weighed heavily on her heart. Just as Eleanor was about to drift off into an uneasy sleep, a soft voice broke through the silence. "Ma'am, are you okay?" Startled, she opened her eyes to see a teenage boy standing in front of her. He wore a hoodie and sneakers, and his dark skin glistened faintly in the dim light. His expression was kind, his eyes full of concern. For the first time that day, someone had stopped, not because they were obligated or curious, but because they genuinely cared. Eleanor blinked back tears, overwhelmed by the unexpected kindness. The boy introduced himself as Marcus. He explained that he had been walking home from basketball practice when he noticed her sitting alone. "You look like you could use some help," he said gently. Eleanor hesitated at first, unsure whether to trust him, but something about his sincerity put her at ease. Slowly, she nodded and told him that she was lost and needed to get back to her house. Marcus listened attentively, asking questions to clarify her address. Once he had enough information, he offered to guide her there. Without hesitation, he extended his arm to support her as they began their journey. The walk was slow and arduous, given Eleanor's frailty, but Marcus remained patient throughout. Along the way, they talked about their lives. Eleanor shared stories of her youth, her career as a successful entrepreneur, and the joys and challenges of raising a family. Marcus spoke about his dreams of becoming a doctor despite growing up in a neighborhood plagued by poverty and crime. Their conversation flowed effortlessly, bridging the gap between generations and backgrounds. For the first time that day, Eleanor felt truly seen and valued. When they finally arrived at her home, a magnificent mansion surrounded by lush gardens, Eleanor turned to thank Marcus. Tears streamed down her cheeks as she expressed her gratitude. "You have no idea how much this means to me," she whispered. Marcus smiled warmly, assuring her that it was nothing. As they stood there, bathed in the golden light of the setting sun, neither of them realized that this chance encounter would change both their lives forever. Eleanor's grand mansion stood in stark contrast to the modest neighborhood Marcus called home. The wrought iron gates opened with a soft creak as she led him inside, her steps lighter now that she was back on familiar ground. The interior of the house was breathtaking. Marble floors gleamed under crystal chandeliers and priceless paintings adorned the walls. Yet, what struck Marcus most wasn't the opulence, but the warmth Eleanor exuded despite living in such luxury. She invited him to sit in the living room, which overlooked a sprawling garden bathed in the golden glow of the evening sun. As they settled into plush armchairs, Eleanor poured tea from an antique silver set, her hands steady once again. The two continued their conversation, delving deeper into each other's lives. Eleanor spoke about her late husband, a man who had been her partner in both love and business. Together they had built a vast empire, amassing wealth beyond imagination. But success came at a cost. They worked tirelessly, often sacrificing time with their children who eventually grew distant. After her husband's passing, Eleanor found herself alone, surrounded by reminders of a life that felt increasingly hollow. Her voice softened as she admitted how lonely she had become, especially since her health began to decline. "Money can buy many things," she said with a sigh, "but it can't buy companionship or happiness." Marcus listened intently, his heart aching for the woman who seemed so isolated despite having everything money could offer. He shared more about his own struggles, growing up in a rough part of town where opportunities were scarce and hope often felt like a luxury he couldn't afford. His mother worked 2 jobs to keep food on the table, and his father had left when he was just a child. Still, Marcus refused to let his circumstances define him. He dreamed of becoming a doctor, not just to escape poverty but to make a difference in the world. "I want to help people," he told Eleanor earnestly, "to show them that someone cares, even when life feels impossible." As the hours passed, their bond deepened. Eleanor admired Marcus's determination and resilience, qualities she hadn't seen in many young people today. In turn, Marcus saw Eleanor not as a billionaire but as a kindred spirit, a person yearning for connection and purpose. Before leaving that evening, Eleanor insisted on compensating Marcus for his kindness. She handed him a crisp $100 bill, which he hesitated to accept. "I didn't do this for money," he said firmly. "I just wanted to help." Eleanor smiled, touched by his integrity. "Then consider it a gift," she replied, "for reminding me what true humanity looks like." Over the following weeks, Marcus visited Eleanor regularly. At first, he came out of gratitude, wanting to ensure she wouldn't get lost again. But soon their meetings became less about obligation and more about friendship. He helped her with small tasks around the house, organizing old photo albums, watering plants, and accompanying her on short walks through the garden. In return, Eleanor mentored him, offering guidance on navigating life's challenges. She encouraged him to apply to college, sharing stories of her own journey and the importance of perseverance. "You have potential, Marcus," she told him one afternoon. "Don't let anyone tell you otherwise." One evening, as they sat together sipping tea, Eleanor revealed something surprising. She had no family left to inherit her fortune. Her children had long since moved away, and though they sent occasional letters, their relationship remained strained. Over the years, she had grown disillusioned with material wealth, realizing it brought little fulfillment without meaningful connections. "When I die," she said quietly, "I plan to leave most of my money to charity, to causes that support underprivileged youth like yourself." Marcus was stunned by her generosity, but also saddened by the loneliness that seemed to linger beneath her words. Their conversations often turned philosophical, exploring themes of legacy, purpose, and the fleeting nature of life. Eleanor challenged Marcus to think deeply about the kind of impact he wanted to leave behind. "Success isn't measured by how much you accumulate," she told him. "It's measured by how much you give back." Inspired by her wisdom, Marcus began volunteering at a local community center, tutoring children after school and organizing workshops on career planning. He realized that helping others gave him a sense of purpose, far greater than any personal achievement ever could. Months went by, and their friendship blossomed into something neither of them had anticipated. One chilly winter evening, Eleanor summoned Marcus to her study. The room was filled with books and artifacts from her travels, each item telling a story of a life well lived. She handed him an envelope, its weight suggesting it contained more than just a note. "Open it," she urged gently. Inside, Marcus found a check made out to him for an amount that took his breath away. It was enough to cover his tuition for medical school and then some. Tears welled up in his eyes as he looked at her, speechless. "I believe in you, Marcus," Eleanor said softly. "You've shown me that there's still goodness in this world even when I doubted it. This is my way of investing in your future, and in the futures of all the people you'll touch with your work." Marcus struggled to find the right words to express his gratitude. All he could manage was a heartfelt thank you, his voice cracking with emotion. That night, as he walked home, he clutched the envelope tightly, feeling the weight of responsibility and promise it carried. News of Eleanor's generosity spread quickly within Marcus's community. At first, skepticism reigned. Some assumed he must have manipulated her or taken advantage of her vulnerability. But as the truth emerged, that Marcus had selflessly helped a stranger without expecting anything in return, people began to view him in a new light. His actions inspired others to pay closer attention to those in need, sparking a wave of compassion that rippled through the neighborhood. Neighbors started checking in on elderly residents, students organized fundraisers for local charities, and families volunteered at shelters during the holidays. What began as a single act of kindness had ignited a movement. Despite the newfound attention, Marcus remained humble. He knew the real hero was Eleanor, whose courage and generosity had transformed not only his life, but also the lives of countless others. Whenever reporters asked him about his story, he redirected the focus to her. "She taught me what it means to live with purpose," he would say, "and now I want to honor her legacy by doing the same." With Eleanor's support, Marcus enrolled in college, excelling in his studies and earning top marks. He balanced academics with volunteer work, determined to embody the values she had instilled in him. Years passed, and Marcus graduated at the top of his class from medical school. During his valedictorian speech, he dedicated his success to Eleanor, who had passed away peacefully shortly after funding his education. Her will ensured that the majority of her fortune went to charitable causes aimed at supporting underprivileged youth. In her final letter to Marcus, she wrote, "You are the son I never had. Carry the torch of kindness forward, and never forget where you came from." Those words stayed with him throughout his career as a doctor, guiding him in every decision he made. As Marcus treated patients in underserved communities, he often thought of Eleanor and the lessons she had taught him. He mentored young students, encouraging them to pursue their dreams regardless of their circumstances. He advocated for empathy and compassion, reminding everyone he met that even the smallest acts of kindness could change the world. Though Eleanor was gone, her spirit lived on through Marcus and the countless lives he touched. Their unlikely friendship had proven that human connection transcended age, race, and socioeconomic status, a testament to the power of empathy and the enduring impact of a single moment of grace. As Marcus stepped into his new role as a doctor, he carried with him not just the knowledge he had gained in medical school, but also the values Eleanor had instilled in him. Every day at the clinic felt like an opportunity to honor her legacy. The building itself was modest, nestled in one of the city's most underserved neighborhoods, a place where many doctors refused to work due to limited resources and overwhelming demand. But for Marcus, it was exactly where he wanted to be. He saw faces filled with hope and desperation, people who reminded him of his own family back home. Each patient became a chance to make a difference, no matter how small. On his first day, Marcus arrived early, eager to get started. The waiting room was already crowded, with families sitting shoulder to shoulder on worn-out plastic chairs. Children played quietly in the corner while adults exchanged worried glances. Some held crumpled papers detailing their symptoms. Others simply waited anxiously, unsure of what to say or do. When Marcus walked in wearing his white coat, he noticed how some patients straightened up, their eyes following him curiously. For many, seeing someone who looked like them, a young black man from a similar background, was reassuring. It gave them hope that this doctor might truly understand their struggles. His first patient was a little girl named Maya, barely 6 years old, clutching her mother's hand tightly. She had been running a high fever for days, and despite her mother's best efforts to care for her, nothing seemed to help. As Marcus examined Maya, he spoke gently, asking questions not just about her symptoms, but also about her life. Did she enjoy school? What were her favorite games? His approach put both Maya and her mother at ease, breaking down the walls of fear and mistrust that often stood between doctors and patients. By the end of the visit, Maya was smiling again, promising to take better care of herself so she could return to playing outside. Word spread quickly about Dr. Marcus, the kind doctor who didn't rush through appointments and always took time to listen. Soon the clinic was busier than ever, with lines stretching out the door each morning. Despite the long hours and relentless pace, Marcus never lost sight of why he was there. He remembered Eleanor's words. Success isn't measured by how much you accumulate, but by how much you give back. Every smile from a relieved parent, every hug from a grateful child, reinforced his belief that he was doing something meaningful. Even on the toughest days when exhaustion threatened to overwhelm him, those moments kept him going. Outside of work, Marcus continued mentoring students from his old neighborhood. He partnered with local schools to create programs aimed at inspiring young people to pursue careers in healthcare. Many of these kids had never met a doctor before, let alone considered becoming one themselves. Marcus changed that. He shared his story openly, talking about the challenges he faced growing up and how Eleanor's kindness had transformed his life. "If I can do it," he told them, "so can you. Don't let anyone tell you your dreams are too big." 1. Saturday afternoon, Marcus organized a career fair at the community center where he used to volunteer. Dozens of teenagers showed up, curious and excited. Doctors, nurses, and other healthcare professionals came to speak, sharing insights into their fields and answering questions. Marcus stood at the front of the room, watching proudly as students scribbled notes and asked thoughtful questions. Among them was Jamal, a quiet 14-year-old whose grades had recently improved thanks to tutoring sessions Marcus had arranged. Jamal approached him afterward, nervously admitting that he wanted to become a surgeon someday. Marcus grinned, clapping the boy on the shoulder. "You've got this," he said confidently. "Let's start planning your journey." The ripple effects of Marcus's efforts extended far beyond the clinic and the community center. Inspired by his dedication, others began stepping up to help as well. A group of retired teachers volunteered to tutor students after school, focusing on subjects like math and science that were crucial for future careers in medicine. Local businesses donated supplies and equipment to support the programs Marcus had launched. Even some of his former classmates from medical school joined in, offering internships and shadowing opportunities to aspiring young professionals. What had started as one person's mission grew into a collective effort to uplift an entire community. But Marcus knew that true change required addressing more than just individual aspirations. It meant tackling systemic issues too. He began advocating for policy changes to improve access to healthcare in underserved areas. At town hall meetings, he spoke passionately about the need for better funding, increased staffing, and expanded services at clinics like his own. His speeches resonated with residents who had long felt ignored by policymakers. Slowly but surely, progress began to happen. New grants poured in, allowing the clinic to hire additional staff and upgrade its facilities. Mobile health units were introduced, bringing care directly to neighborhoods without easy access to hospitals. Despite all his achievements, Marcus remained grounded. He visited Eleanor's grave regularly, leaving flowers and updating her on everything he had accomplished. Sitting beside her tombstone, he would talk as if she were still there, sharing stories of his patients and the students he mentored. Sometimes he imagined hearing her voice in response, a soft chuckle or a wise piece of advice. In those moments, he felt connected to her once again, drawing strength from the bond they had shared. One evening, as Marcus prepared to leave the clinic, he noticed an elderly woman sitting alone in the waiting room. Her hands trembled slightly as she clutched a worn leather purse, and her eyes darted nervously around the room. Something about her demeanor reminded him of Eleanor on the day they first met. Without hesitation, he walked over and knelt beside her. "Ma'am, are you okay?" he asked gently. The woman hesitated before nodding weakly. She explained that she had come seeking treatment for a persistent cough but was overwhelmed by the crowd and unsure of what to do next. Marcus reassured her, guiding her to an empty examination room and staying with her until her appointment was complete. That night, as Marcus drove home, he reflected on the encounter. Helping that woman hadn't taken much effort, just a few minutes of his time. But it had made all the difference to her. It reminded him of how Eleanor's simple act of generosity had changed his life forever. He realized then that kindness wasn't about grand gestures or dramatic moments. It was about showing up, paying attention, and caring enough to make someone feel seen. And though the world often felt chaotic and indifferent, acts of compassion had the power to create ripples of change that reached farther than anyone could imagine. Years later, Marcus stood on stage at a prestigious awards ceremony, accepting recognition for his contributions to healthcare and education. Cameras flashed as he delivered his acceptance speech, his voice steady and heartfelt. "This award doesn't belong to me," he said, looking out at the audience. "It belongs to everyone who has believed in the power of compassion. To the teachers who inspire, the volunteers who serve, and the countless individuals who choose kindness every single day. Most importantly, it belongs to Eleanor, a woman I once helped find her way home. She taught me that humanity is our greatest strength, and I will spend my life honoring that lesson." The crowd erupted in applause, but Marcus barely heard it. His mind was miles away, picturing Eleanor's face, the warmth in her smile, the wisdom in her eyes. Though she was gone, her influence lived on in every life he touched, every student he mentored, and every patient he healed. Their unlikely friendship had proven that even in a world that often felt cold and disconnected, human connection could bridge the widest gaps. And as Marcus returned to his seat, he knew that Eleanor's legacy would continue to shine brightly, not just through him, but through everyone inspired by the extraordinary impact of a single act of kindness. As the years passed, Marcus's influence continued to grow, not just within his community but across the nation. His story had become a beacon of hope for many, a reminder that even in the face of adversity, kindness and determination could pave the way for change. News outlets featured him in documentaries and interviews, highlighting his journey from a struggling teenager in a tough neighborhood to a renowned doctor making waves in underserved communities. Yet, despite the growing recognition, Marcus remained steadfast in his mission. Fame wasn't what drove him. It was the memory of Eleanor and the values she had instilled in him that kept him grounded. One of the most profound ways Marcus honored Eleanor's legacy was through a foundation he established in her name, the Eleanor Legacy Fund. Its mission was simple yet powerful: to provide scholarships, mentorship programs, and resources for underprivileged youth pursuing careers in healthcare. The fund quickly gained traction, attracting donations from individuals and organizations inspired by Marcus's story. Doctors, nurses, and philanthropists rallied behind the cause, eager to contribute to something greater than themselves. What started as a small initiative soon blossomed into a nationwide movement, touching lives far beyond Marcus's hometown. The foundation hosted annual events where students could meet professionals in various medical fields, ask questions, and gain hands-on experience. These gatherings weren't just about education, they were about connection. Marcus understood firsthand how isolating it could feel to dream big without role models who looked like you or came from similar backgrounds. At these events, young people saw reflections of their own potential in the faces of doctors, researchers, and nurses who had overcome obstacles to achieve success. For many attendees, this was the first time they truly believed their dreams were attainable. Among the countless stories of transformation was that of Tasha, a bright 16-year-old whose family struggled to make ends meet. Her father worked long hours as a janitor, while her mother juggled multiple part-time jobs to keep food on the table. Despite their financial hardships, Tasha excelled in school, particularly in biology and chemistry. She dreamed of becoming a pediatrician, inspired by the care she received during frequent visits to free clinics as a child. However, the cost of higher education seemed insurmountable. When Tasha learned about the Eleanor Legacy Fund, she applied for a scholarship with trembling hands, unsure if anyone would believe in her enough to invest in her future. To her astonishment, she was awarded not only financial aid but also a mentorship program pairing her with experienced professionals. Marcus himself took an active role in guiding her, meeting regularly to discuss her progress and offer advice. He encouraged her to apply to top universities, assuring her that she was more than capable of competing with students from privileged backgrounds. "You've already shown incredible resilience," he told her. "That's a strength no one can take away from you." With his support, Tasha gained confidence and eventually secured admission to a prestigious university. On the day she received her acceptance letter, she called Marcus in tears, thanking him for believing in her when she doubted herself. While Tasha's story was inspiring, it was just one among thousands. Every year, the foundation helped dozens of students like her break free from the cycle of poverty and pursue careers that would allow them to give back to their communities. Graduates of the program went on to become doctors, nurses, social workers, and educators, each carrying forward the spirit of generosity and compassion that defined Eleanor's legacy. Some returned to volunteer at the very clinics where they had once been patients, ensuring that the next generation would have access to the same opportunities they had received. Beyond scholarships and mentorships, the Eleanor Legacy Fund also focused on systemic change. Marcus collaborated with policymakers, researchers, and advocacy groups to address disparities in healthcare access and outcomes. Together, they pushed for reforms that prioritized underserved populations, advocating for affordable insurance options, expanded Medicaid coverage, and increased funding for community health centers. Their efforts led to tangible improvements, including shorter wait times at clinics, better trained staff, and enhanced services tailored to the unique needs of marginalized communities. Slowly but surely, the gap between privilege and poverty began to narrow. Despite his busy schedule, Marcus never lost sight of the personal connections that fueled his work. He made it a point to visit the clinic regularly, even after taking on leadership roles within the foundation. Patients recognized him instantly, greeting him with smiles and hugs. Many referred to him simply as Dr. Marcus, omitting the formal title because he felt less like a distant authority figure and more like a trusted friend. He remembered names, birthdays, and details about their lives, treating each person with dignity and respect. To him, medicine wasn't just about diagnosing illnesses. It was about understanding the whole person, their struggles, hopes, and dreams. One afternoon, as Marcus reviewed patient files in his office, a familiar face appeared at the door. It was Jamal, the shy teenager who had once confided in him about wanting to become a surgeon. Now a young man in his mid-20s, Jamal stood tall, wearing a crisp white coat and holding a stethoscope around his neck. "Dr. Marcus," he said with a grin, "I did it. I graduated med school." Overwhelmed with pride, Marcus rose from his chair and embraced him tightly. They spent hours catching up, discussing everything from Jamal's residency plans to the challenges he faced along the way. Before leaving, Jamal handed Marcus a framed photograph of himself receiving his diploma. Written on the back were the words, "Thank you for showing me the path." Moments like these reminded Marcus why he had chosen this path in the first place. Each success story reinforced his belief that compassion and perseverance could transform lives, not just for individuals but for entire communities. Still, there were days when the weight of responsibility felt overwhelming. The demands of running a foundation, managing a clinic, and mentoring countless students left little room for rest. On those nights when exhaustion threatened to consume him, Marcus found solace in reflecting on Eleanor's life. He thought about the loneliness she had endured and the courage it must have taken for her to reach out to him that fateful evening. Her act of trust had set everything in motion, proving that even the smallest gestures could create monumental change. In quieter moments, Marcus often wondered what Eleanor would think of all he had accomplished. Would she be proud? Would she see the impact of her generosity rippling outward, touching lives she had never met? Though he couldn't know for sure, he liked to imagine her smiling down on him, her eyes twinkling with approval. Sometimes, when he walked through the halls of the clinic or attended foundation events, he felt her presence, a gentle nudge reminding him to stay true to his purpose. The foundation's success didn't come without challenges. Critics argued that focusing on individual stories was insufficient to address larger societal issues. Others accused Marcus of using Eleanor's wealth for personal gain, despite his transparent accounting practices and unwavering commitment to the cause. Through it all, Marcus remained resolute, knowing that every criticism was outweighed by the lives being changed for the better. He leaned on his mentors, colleagues, and friends for support, drawing strength from their shared belief in the power of compassion. As the foundation entered its 10th year, Marcus organized a special celebration to honor Eleanor's memory. Hundreds of people attended, including former scholarship recipients, volunteers, and community leaders. The event featured speeches, performances, and testimonials from those whose lives had been transformed by the fund. One speaker, a young woman named Maria, spoke passionately about how the foundation had enabled her to pursue a career in nursing despite financial hardships. "Before I met Dr. Marcus," she said, choking back tears, "I didn't think my dreams mattered, but he showed me that they do, and now I get to help others realize theirs." At the end of the evening, Marcus stood before the crowd, holding a candle in remembrance of Eleanor. His voice wavered slightly as he spoke, emotion welling up inside him. "Eleanor taught me that humanity is our greatest strength," he said, looking out at the sea of faces illuminated by candlelight. "She showed me that even in our darkest moments, we have the power to lift each other up. Tonight, we celebrate not just her generosity but the ripple effect of her kindness, a legacy carried forward by everyone here tonight." As the audience erupted in applause, Marcus felt a deep sense of fulfillment, knowing that Eleanor's spirit lived on through every life touched by her gift. Years later, as Marcus prepared to retire from active practice, he reflected on the journey that had brought him here. From the streets of his childhood neighborhood to the halls of prestigious institutions, from the park bench where he first met Eleanor to the thriving foundation that bore her name, his life had been shaped by acts of kindness both given and received. He knew that retirement wouldn't mean stepping away from the work entirely. It simply meant passing the torch to the next generation of leaders, ensuring that Eleanor's legacy would continue to shine brightly for decades to come. And as he closed the door to his office for the final time, he smiled, confident that the world was a little kinder. As Marcus stepped away from his role as the face of the Eleanor Legacy Fund, he entrusted its leadership to a new generation of passionate individuals who had grown up benefiting from its programs. Among them was Tasha, the once shy teenager whose dreams of becoming a pediatrician had been nurtured under Marcus's guidance. Now a confident and accomplished doctor herself, she took over as the foundation's executive director, determined to expand its reach even further. Her appointment marked a turning point, a symbolic passing of the torch from one era to the next. Yet, the core values that defined the organization remained unchanged: compassion, equity, and an unwavering commitment to uplifting those in need. Under Tasha's leadership, the foundation launched innovative initiatives aimed at addressing emerging challenges in healthcare and education. One such initiative was a mobile clinic program designed to bring essential medical services directly to remote rural areas, where access to care was virtually non-existent. These clinics traveled across state lines, staffed by volunteer doctors, nurses, and medical students eager to make a difference. They offered free checkups, vaccinations, mental health counseling, and preventive care workshops tailored to the specific needs of each community they visited. For many residents, these visits were life-changing, providing not only immediate relief, but also empowering them with knowledge about how to maintain their health long after the clinics moved on. The mobile clinics quickly became a cornerstone of the foundation's efforts, earning widespread acclaim for their impact. Stories poured in from grateful patients, young mothers receiving prenatal care for the first time, elderly individuals finally diagnosed with chronic conditions they hadn't understood, and children learning basic hygiene practices that would protect them from preventable diseases. Each success story reinforced the importance of meeting people where they were, both physically and emotionally. It wasn't enough to build hospitals or establish scholarships. True change required understanding the unique barriers faced by different communities and finding creative ways to overcome them. In addition to expanding healthcare access, the foundation also placed renewed emphasis on mental health awareness, an issue close to Marcus's heart. Having witnessed firsthand the toll stress and isolation could take on individuals, he had long advocated for greater investment in mental health resources. Under Tasha's direction, the foundation partnered with schools, churches, and community centers to offer free counseling sessions, support groups, and educational seminars. Volunteers trained in trauma-informed care worked tirelessly to create safe spaces where people felt comfortable opening up about their struggles. Slowly but surely, stigmas surrounding mental illness began to fade, replaced by a culture of empathy and understanding. One particularly impactful project was the creation of a peer mentoring network connecting young adults struggling with mental health challenges. Participants were paired with mentors who had faced similar issues and emerged stronger on the other side. Through regular meetings, shared experiences, and practical advice, these relationships fostered resilience and hope. Many participants credited the program with saving their lives, citing it as a lifeline during moments when they felt utterly alone. As word spread, demand for the service grew, prompting the foundation to scale up operations and train additional mentors. Meanwhile, Marcus continued to play an advisory role within the foundation, offering wisdom and encouragement whenever needed. Though officially retired, he couldn't resist staying involved, especially when it came to mentoring students. He found immense joy in guiding young minds, helping them navigate the complexities of college applications, financial aid forms, and career decisions. His office at the clinic remained open, albeit less frequently, serving as a sanctuary for anyone seeking advice or simply wanting to share good news. Whether it was celebrating a high school graduation, congratulating a newly minted doctor, or consoling someone facing setbacks, Marcus was always there, steadfast and supportive. His presence served as a living reminder of Eleanor's enduring influence. Whenever newcomers joined the foundation's team, Marcus made it a point to share her story. The elderly woman who had wandered lost and alone until a stranger showed her kindness. He emphasized how that single act of generosity had sparked a chain reaction, transforming countless lives in ways neither he nor Eleanor could have imagined. Never underestimate the power of small actions, he often said. A kind word, a listening ear, a helping hand. These things may seem insignificant, but they can change the world. Inspired by Marcus's words, many members of the foundation sought opportunities to pay it forward in their own lives. Some organized food drives for local shelters, while others volunteered at senior centers, ensuring that no one felt forgotten or neglected. A group of medical students initiated a kindness campaign, encouraging peers to perform random acts of goodwill daily, from holding doors open to writing thank you notes to strangers. What began as a light-hearted challenge soon evolved into a movement, spreading positivity far beyond the confines of the university campus. Even outside the foundation, Marcus's legacy continued to inspire others. Former scholarship recipients who had gone on to successful careers often returned to their hometowns, determined to give back in meaningful ways. One graduate, a software engineer named Carlos, developed an app connecting low-income families with affordable childcare options. Another, a lawyer named Priya, dedicated her practice to defending immigrants' rights, offering pro bono services to those in desperate need. Each person carried a piece of Eleanor's spirit with them, using their talents and resources to uplift others just as they had been uplifted. Back in Marcus's old neighborhood, the changes were palpable. The streets, once plagued by crime and neglect, now buzzed with activity thanks to revitalization efforts spearheaded by local leaders, including several former students Marcus had mentored. Community gardens flourished, murals brightened crumbling. Walls and after-school programs thrived, giving children safe spaces to learn and grow. Crime rates dropped significantly as residents banded together, fostering a sense of pride and ownership in their shared environment. While challenges remained, there was an undeniable sense of progress and possibility in the air. Every year, the foundation hosted a gala to celebrate its achievements and honor Eleanor's memory. Attendees included donors, volunteers, beneficiaries, and supporters from all walks of life. The event featured heartfelt speeches, inspiring performances, and awards recognizing outstanding contributions to the cause. At the most recent gala, Marcus delivered a poignant speech reflecting on the journey thus far and envisioning the road ahead. Eleanor taught us that humanity is our greatest strength, he said, his voice steady yet filled with emotion. She showed us that kindness isn't something we do, it's something we are. And because of her, we've created a legacy of love that will endure for generations. As the evening drew to a close, attendees released lanterns into the night sky, each one symbolizing a life touched by Eleanor's generosity. Against the backdrop of twinkling stars, the glowing lights floated upward, carrying with them hopes, dreams, and gratitude. Watching from the sidelines, Marcus felt a profound sense of peace. Though Eleanor was no longer physically present, her spirit lived on through every act of kindness inspired by her story. She had ignited a spark that refused to dim, illuminating paths for countless individuals and proving that even in a world often overshadowed by darkness, light could prevail. Years later, as Marcus sat on the porch of his modest home, watching the sun set behind distant hills, he reflected on everything that had transpired since that fateful day in the park. From the moment he extended a helping hand to Eleanor, their lives and the lives of so many others had become intertwined in ways neither could have anticipated. Their unlikely friendship had blossomed into a movement rooted in compassion, resilience, and hope. And though Marcus knew his time on earth was finite, he took comfort in knowing that Eleanor's legacy would continue to shine brightly, carried forward by those who believed in the extraordinary impact of a single act of grace. As the years continued to unfold, Marcus found himself spending more time reflecting on the interconnectedness of lives. He often thought about how one small decision could ripple outward, touching people in ways no one could predict. Sitting on his porch with a cup of tea, he would watch children play in the neighborhood park, their laughter echoing through the air. Many of those kids were beneficiaries of the Eleanor Legacy Fund. Some had received scholarships, others had participated, In mentorship programs, and still others had been treated at the mobile clinics that traveled across the region. Each child represented a thread in the vast tapestry Eleanor's generosity had woven, and Marcus marveled at how far-reaching her impact had become. One afternoon, as Marcus strolled through the park, he noticed a young girl sitting alone on a bench sketching in a notebook. Her name was Lily, and she was the daughter of Maria, the woman who had spoken so movingly at the Foundation Gala years earlier. Lily looked up when she saw Marcus approaching and smiled shyly. "Dr. Marcus," she said, "I'm drawing pictures for a story I want to write." Curious, Marcus sat beside her and asked what the story was about. With wide eyes full of excitement, Lily explained that it was inspired by her mother's journey, a tale of overcoming obstacles with the help of kind strangers. "I want other kids to know they can dream big too," she added earnestly. Marcus felt a lump rise in his throat as he realized how deeply Eleanor's legacy had permeated even the youngest generation. The following week, Marcus invited Lily to visit the Foundation's headquarters. He wanted her to see firsthand the work being done and meet some of the people whose stories might inspire her writing. As they toured the building, Lily's face lit up with wonder. She met doctors, nurses, teachers, and volunteers, each sharing snippets of their experiences. In the art therapy room, she watched children paint vibrant murals depicting their dreams for the future. At the Career Center, she observed teenagers practicing mock interviews and crafting resumes. By the end of the day, Lily's notebook was filled with sketches and notes, her mind buzzing with ideas for her story. Word of Lily's project spread quickly within the Foundation community. Encouraged by Tasha, the executive director, staff, members began contributing their own stories, anecdotes, and reflections to help shape her narrative. Some shared tales of resilience, while others recounted moments of unexpected kindness that had changed their lives forever. Together, they created a mosaic of human experience, illustrating the profound ways in which compassion could transform individuals and communities alike. When Lily finally completed her manuscript months later, it was not just her story, it was theirs. The book, titled Threads of Grace, became an instant sensation upon publication. It told the story of a young boy named Alex who stumbled upon a mysterious loom capable of weaving threads of kindness into tangible acts of goodwill. Through Alex's adventures, readers encountered characters based on real-life beneficiaries of the Foundation, people like Maria, Jamal, Carlos, and Priya. Each chapter highlighted a different aspect of the organization's mission, from healthcare, access to education, equity to mental health advocacy. Critics praised the book for its heartfelt storytelling and powerful message, calling it a testament to the enduring impact of Eleanor's legacy. Proceeds from Threads of Grace went directly back into the Foundation, funding new initiatives and expanding existing programs. One such initiative was the establishment of a creative arts division aimed at fostering self-expression among underserved youth. Workshops in painting, music, dance, and writing provided outlets for emotions that might otherwise go unspoken. For many participants, these activities became lifelines, offering solace during difficult times and empowering them to tell their own stories. Some even went on to pursue careers in the arts, crediting the program with helping them discover their true passions. Meanwhile, Marcus remained actively involved in mentoring young writers like Lily, encouraging them to use their voices to advocate for change. He believed that storytelling was one of the most powerful tools for social transformation, a way to bridge divides, challenge stereotypes, and inspire action. Under his guidance, several teens published essays and poems addressing issues ranging from racial injustice to environmental sustainability. Their words resonated deeply with audiences, sparking conversations that led to tangible improvements in policy and practice. In addition to nurturing creativity, the Foundation also expanded its focus on technology and innovation. Recognizing the growing importance of digital literacy in today's world, Tasha spearheaded the launch of a tech incubator designed to equip students with skills in coding, robotics, and artificial intelligence. Participants worked alongside industry professionals to develop apps, websites, and devices aimed at solving real-world problems. One standout project involved creating a wearable device that monitored vital signs and alerted caregivers to potential health emergencies, a tool particularly valuable for elderly individuals living alone. The invention earned national recognition and secured funding for further development. These technological advancements complemented the Foundation's ongoing efforts to address systemic inequities in healthcare. Mobile clinics now featured state-of-the-art diagnostic equipment, enabling staff to provide more comprehensive care than ever before. Telemedicine services allowed patients in remote areas to consult with specialists without traveling long distances. Data collected during these interactions helped researchers identify trends and tailor interventions to specific populations, ensuring resources were allocated where they were needed most. The combination of cutting-edge technology and compassionate care exemplified the Foundation's commitment to innovation, grounded in empathy. Despite all these achievements, challenges persisted. Funding shortages occasionally threatened certain programs, forcing leaders to make tough decisions about priorities. Political changes sometimes hindered progress, requiring advocates to adapt strategies and rally support anew. Yet, through every obstacle, the Foundation's team remained united by a shared vision. A world where everyone, regardless of background or circumstance, had access to opportunities for growth and healing. This unwavering determination kept them moving forward, even when the path seemed uncertain. On quiet evenings, Marcus often returned to Eleanor's grave, accompanied by memories of the countless lives transformed because of her courage and generosity. He spoke aloud, recounting recent developments and expressing gratitude for the foundation she had made possible. Sometimes, he brought along books written by young authors or photographs taken during community events, imagining her delight at seeing how her gift had blossomed. Though he couldn't hear her response, he felt her presence strongly, a comforting reminder that love transcended time and space. As Marcus grew older, he took comfort in knowing that the work he had dedicated his life to would continue long after he was gone. Young leaders like Tasha and Lily carried the torch with passion and purpose, ensuring that Eleanor's legacy would endure for generations to come. They understood that true success wasn't measured by accolades or wealth, but by the positive impact one left on the world. Guided by this principle, they forged ahead, tackling new challenges and seizing opportunities to create a brighter future. Years turned into decades, and the Foundation evolved alongside society, adapting to changing needs while staying true to its core values. New chapters unfolded, bringing fresh faces and innovative ideas into the fold. Yet, at its heart, the Eleanor Legacy Fund remained a beacon of hope, a testament to the extraordinary power of kindness and the boundless potential of humanity. And as Marcus closed his eyes for the final time, surrounded by loved ones and memories of a life well lived, he smiled, knowing that Eleanor's spirit would forever shine brightly, illuminating paths for countless souls yet to walk them. As the decades rolled on, the Foundation's influence expanded far beyond what anyone could have imagined when Eleanor first handed Marcus that life-changing check. The ripple effect of her generosity continued to grow, touching lives across continents and inspiring movements rooted in compassion and equity. What had started as a local initiative aimed at helping underprivileged youth pursue careers in healthcare transformed into a global force for good, addressing some of humanity's most pressing challenges. From eradicating health disparities to fostering education and creativity, the Eleanor Legacy Fund became synonymous with hope and resilience. One of the Foundation's most ambitious undertakings was the establishment of international partnerships, designed to tackle systemic issues affecting marginalized communities worldwide. Collaborating with organizations in Africa, Asia, and Latin America, the Foundation launched programs focused on maternal health, clean water access, and sustainable agriculture. Mobile clinics modeled after those serving rural areas in the United States traveled to remote villages where medical care was virtually non-existent. Teams of doctors, nurses, and volunteers provided essential services while training local residents to take over operations, ensuring sustainability long after they departed. For many villagers, these visits marked the first time they received professional health care, a gift that saved countless lives. In one such village nestled deep within the hills of Kenya, a young girl named Amina dreamed of becoming a doctor, despite having no role models or resources to guide her. When the mobile clinic arrived, she eagerly observed the team at work, asking endless questions about their tools and techniques. Inspired by her curiosity, the lead physician introduced her to representatives from the Foundation's African chapter. They enrolled her in a scholarship program that covered not only her schooling, but also mentorship from professionals who helped her navigate the complexities of pursuing higher education. Years later, Amina graduated top of her class from a prestigious university, returning to her village as a fully qualified doctor determined to give back to the community that raised her. Stories like Amina's were shared widely through documentaries, social media campaigns, and public speaking events hosted by the Foundation. These narratives served as powerful reminders of the transformative potential of kindness and investment in human capital. As people around the world learned about the impact of Eleanor's legacy, donations poured in from unexpected corners, celebrities, corporations, and ordinary citizens eager to contribute to something greater than themselves. The influx of funding allowed the Foundation to dream bigger, tackling increasingly complex problems with innovative solutions. Among its boldest ventures was the creation of a global innovation hub, dedicated to solving environmental crises threatening vulnerable populations. Located in a bustling city known for its tech-savvy workforce, the hub brought together scientists, engineers, activists, and artists to brainstorm ideas for combating climate change, reducing pollution, and promoting renewable energy. Participants worked in interdisciplinary teams, combining expertise from diverse fields to develop projects ranging from affordable solar-powered water purifiers to apps tracking deforestation rates in real time. Many of these inventions won international awards, garnering attention from policymakers and investors alike. Back home, the Foundation maintained its commitment to nurturing creativity and self-expression among underserved youth. Its creative arts division flourished, producing musicians, painters, dancers, and writers whose works challenged societal norms and sparked meaningful conversations. One standout success story was Jamal Jr., the son of Jamal, the once shy teenager who had gone on to become a surgeon. Following in his father's footsteps, Jamal Jr. initially pursued medicine but soon discovered a passion for filmmaking. With support from the Foundation, he directed a documentary exploring the intersection of race, poverty, and healthcare access in urban America. The film premiered at a major festival, earning critical acclaim and sparking nationwide discussions about systemic inequities. The Foundation also played a pivotal role in advocating for policy changes at both national and international levels. Leaders like Tasha testified before legislative bodies, presenting data and personal stories to highlight the urgent need for reforms in areas such as affordable housing, criminal justice reform, and universal health care. Their efforts led to landmark legislation expanding access to resources for low-income families and protecting the rights of marginalized groups. While progress was slow and often met with resistance, each victory reinforced the belief that persistence and collaboration could overcome even the toughest obstacles. Despite its monumental achievements, the Foundation never lost sight of its roots. Every year, staff members returned to Marcus's old neighborhood to host community festivals, celebrating local culture and resilience. Residents gathered to enjoy live performances, art exhibits, and food stalls run by aspiring entrepreneurs, supported by the Foundation's small business grants. Elders sat together swapping stories, while children ran around playing games and dreaming of futures filled with possibility. These gatherings reminded everyone involved, from volunteers to beneficiaries, that true change began at the grassroots level, nurtured by relationships built on trust and mutual respect. Even as new leaders emerged to carry the torch, Marcus remained a beloved figure within the Foundation family. Though physically frail, his spirit burned brightly, igniting sparks of inspiration wherever he went. On special occasions, he attended events, delighting attendees with tales of Eleanor's wisdom and courage. His presence served as a living link to the past, grounding newer generations in the values that defined the organization's mission. When asked how he wanted to be remembered, Marcus always responded with humility. not as someone extraordinary, but as someone who believed in the extraordinary potential of others. As Marcus approached the twilight of his life, he spent more time writing letters to students embarking on their journeys, to colleagues leading initiatives around the globe, and to strangers inspired by Eleanor's story. Each letter carried a message of encouragement, urging recipients to embrace challenges with grace and perseverance. He signed off with a simple yet profound reminder: you are part of something bigger than yourself. Carry the light forward. These words became a mantra for many, etched into plaques hanging in classrooms, offices, and homes worldwide. On the day Marcus passed away peacefully in his sleep, tributes poured in from every corner of the earth. Former scholarship recipients, current staff members, and complete strangers shared heartfelt messages honoring the man who had changed their lives forever. News outlets aired retrospectives, chronicling his journey from a struggling teenager to a global icon of compassion and leadership. Schools, hospitals, and community centers were renamed in his honor, ensuring that future generations would remember the legacy he and Eleanor had created together. At Marcus's memorial service, held in the same park where he had first encountered Eleanor, thousands gathered to celebrate a life well lived. Speakers included Tasha, Lily, Amina, and countless others whose paths had crossed with his. Each recounted moments of transformation made possible by his unwavering belief in their potential. As the sun set behind distant trees, attendees released lanterns into the sky, one for Marcus, one for Eleanor, and countless others symbolizing the lives they had touched. Against the backdrop of twinkling stars, the glowing lights floated upward, carrying hopes, dreams, and gratitude. Years later, as new generations took up the mantle of leadership, the Eleanor Legacy Fund continued to thrive, adapting to evolving needs while staying true to its founding principles. Young activists advocated for climate justice using strategies developed at the Innovation Hub. Artists created masterpieces inspired by workshops held in the Creative Arts Division. Medical professionals trained under the Foundation's programs traveled to conflict zones, providing aid to refugees fleeing war and persecution. Everywhere, the threads of grace woven by Eleanor and Marcus intertwined, forming a tapestry of humanity united by love and purpose. And so, the story of an elderly woman lost in a crowded city and a teenage boy who chose to help her endured, not as a tale confined to history books, but as a living testament to the extraordinary impact of a single act of kindness. Through every life touched, every dream realized, and every challenge overcome, Eleanor's spirit shone brightly, illuminating paths for countless souls yet to walk them. Her legacy proved that even in a world often overshadowed by darkness, light could prevail, a beacon guiding humanity toward a brighter, kinder future. Years after Marcus's passing, the world had changed in ways both subtle and profound. The foundation he and Eleanor had built stood as a towering testament to the power of compassion and human connection. It wasn't just an organization anymore. It was a movement, a philosophy, a way of life embraced by millions across the globe. Schools taught lessons about Eleanor's generosity and Marcus's determination, embedding their story into curriculums alongside other historical figures who had shaped humanity for the better. Streets were named after them, statues erected in their honor, and books written exploring the ripple effects of their actions. Yet, what truly mattered wasn't the monuments or accolades, but the everyday acts of kindness inspired by their legacy. In Marcus's old neighborhood, now thriving with opportunity, children played on playgrounds funded by the foundation, while parents attended free workshops on financial literacy and entrepreneurship. A community center bore Eleanor's name, its walls adorned with murals painted by local artists depicting scenes of unity and resilience. Inside, young people gathered to learn coding, practice music, or rehearse plays. All programs made possible by the foundation's unwavering support. The once forgotten streets now buzzed with energy, filled with laughter, ambition, and dreams, taking flight. Residents often remarked that it felt like a different place entirely, yet they never forgot where it all began, with one act of kindness between two strangers. Far beyond the borders of that neighborhood, Eleanor's influence reached corners of the world she could scarcely have imagined. In rural villages in India, women trained as midwives through foundation-sponsored programs delivered babies safely, reducing infant mortality rates significantly. In Brazil, teenagers learned robotics and engineering, building devices to monitor water quality in polluted rivers. In refugee camps scattered across the Middle East, mobile clinics provided not only medical care but also counseling services, helping traumatized families heal and rebuild. Each initiative carried forward the same ethos. No one should be left behind, and everyone deserves a chance to thrive. One of the most remarkable outcomes of the Foundation's work was how it bridged divides between cultures, generations, and socioeconomic backgrounds. People from vastly different walks of life found common ground in their shared commitment to making the world a kinder, fairer place. At international conferences hosted by the Foundation, doctors collaborated with engineers, teachers brainstormed, with artists and activists strategized with policymakers. These partnerships led to groundbreaking innovations, like affordable prosthetics designed using 3D printing technology or apps connecting isolated seniors with volunteers ready to lend a hand. Every breakthrough reinforced the idea that collaboration and empathy could solve even the toughest problems. Back at the heart of the Foundation's operations, Tasha continued to lead with vision and grace. Though her hair had turned silver and lines creased her face, her passion remained undiminished. She often reflected on how far they'd come since the early days when resources were scarce and skepticism ran high. Now, the Foundation was a household name, synonymous with hope and progress. Still, Tasha knew there was much more work to be done. She encouraged young leaders to step up, reminding them that true change required patience, persistence, and an unshakable belief in the goodness of humanity. "We are stewards of this legacy," she would say during meetings. "Let us honor it by continuing to dream boldly." Among those rising leaders was Lily, now a celebrated author and advocate whose book, Threads of Grace, had become required reading in schools worldwide. Through her writing, she inspired countless readers to see themselves as threads in a larger tapestry, interconnected and capable of creating beauty together. Her speaking tours took her to universities, conferences, and community events, where she emphasized the importance of storytelling as a tool for social transformation. "When we share our stories," she told audiences, "we remind each other that we're not alone." That's how movements grow, from whispers of hope to roars of change. Lily's words resonated deeply, especially among younger generations eager to leave their mark on the world. Inspired by her message, students launched grassroots campaigns addressing issues close to their hearts. Some organized drives to collect books for underfunded libraries. Others advocated for mental health awareness in their schools. Social media platforms buzzed with hashtags like Carry the Light Forward and Acts of Grace Challenge, encouraging users to document small acts of kindness and tag friends to join in. What started as a trend quickly evolved into a cultural shift, fostering a renewed sense of community and responsibility. Even in moments of hardship, the Foundation's spirit endured. When natural disasters struck, hurricanes ravaging coastlines, earthquakes toppling cities, the Foundation mobilized swiftly, sending teams equipped with supplies, expertise, and compassion. Volunteers worked tirelessly alongside local residents, rebuilding homes, distributing food, and offering emotional support. In the aftermath of these crises, communities emerged stronger than before, bound together by shared experiences of loss and resilience. Survivors often spoke of the strangers who had shown up when they needed help most, embodying the same selflessness Marcus had demonstrated decades earlier. As time marched on, new technologies emerged, reshaping the landscape of activism and philanthropy. Virtual reality experiences allowed users to walk in someone else's shoes, fostering empathy and understanding across divides. Artificial intelligence analyzed data to identify regions most in need of intervention, ensuring resources were allocated efficiently. Blockchain systems enabled transparent tracking of donations, giving donors peace of mind knowing their contributions reached intended recipients. While these advancements brought challenges, they also opened doors to possibilities previously unimaginable, all guided by the principles of equity and inclusion championed by the Foundation. Yet, amidst all the innovation and growth, the Foundation never lost sight of its core mission: uplifting individuals and empowering them to create change. Whether it was a single mother learning to code so she could provide for her family, or a teenager discovering her voice through poetry, every success story mattered. Leaders like Tasha and Lily understood that lasting impact came not from grand gestures but from consistent, heartfelt efforts to meet people where they were and lift them up. They carried this belief into boardrooms, classrooms, and living rooms, spreading Eleanor's message of love and possibility wherever they went. Decades later, as Tasha prepared to retire from her role as executive director, she stood before a crowd of staff members, volunteers, and beneficiaries at the annual gala. Her voice trembled slightly as she recounted the journey that had brought them here. From Eleanor's quiet courage to Marcus's steadfast leadership, to the countless lives transformed along the way. "This isn't my story," she said, tears glistening in her eyes. "It belongs to all of you, to every person who has chosen kindness over indifference, action over apathy, and hope over despair. Together we've proven that even in our darkest moments light can prevail." The audience erupted in applause, standing to honor not just Tasha but the collective effort that had sustained the Foundation for so many years. As lanterns were released into the night sky, a tradition carried forward from Marcus's final days, attendees whispered names of loved ones, mentors, and strangers whose acts of grace had touched their lives. Among those whispers floated Eleanor's and Marcus's, forever intertwined in a legacy of love that refused to fade. And so, the story continued, not confined to history books or memorials, but alive in the hearts of those who believed in its power. From bustling cities to remote villages, from classrooms to hospitals, from art studios to laboratories, the threads of grace wove together, forming a tapestry rich with humanity's best qualities. Compassion, resilience, and hope became guiding stars for future generations, reminding them that even the smallest act of kindness could spark monumental change. Eleanor's legacy proved timeless, transcending boundaries and inspiring countless souls to carry the light forward, a beacon shining brightly in a world hungry for connection and purpose.